The New York Jets schedule has not officially, but it's out there right now. And we have some inside access with our guy, Brian Costello, our Jets beat writer. As always, amazing how he's able to get access to this beforehand. And we're going to break it down with him and our guy, Frankie Vittorini from U Stadium. Guys, before we get going on this Jets schedule, I'll start off with Kaz. How you doing today?
I'm good, Ryan. Thanks for asking. Very nice of you. I mean, I wish it would stop freaking raining because I got to keep canceling softball games. So,
yeah, it's a little wacky weather right there. I wish we would officially get into that nice summer weather every single day. Frankie, how you doing?
Windows put in today, Ryan, too, and they can't do windows when it's raining. So it'll be quiet at least for the podcast.
Kaz, you playing some softball out there?
Not playing. I coach and I run my town's youth program. So,
oh, nice.
I got 15 youth teams to worry about when it rains every day, Frankie. It really, really messes my life up. So.
Well, I hope one day you're the next MLB commissioner. So I'm wearing my Yankee stuff. We need some changes in the MLB. Just a few things. But guys, I'm feeling pretty good, man. I'm feeling good. Schedule's out. It's looking like a 17-0 team to me, you know. So no, it'll be interesting. Yeah, of course. It looks rough in the beginning, but I think it opens up after the bye week. So,
well, let's start it off with we'll bring in the schedule here now and take a look at it. The Jets are going to start off with none other than the Pittsburgh Steelers. I got to start there, Kaz. Week 1 feels like the NFL knows something here. What more can you say about the Jets starting week 1 with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, I mean, look, we all know what they're thinking, right? If it's Mr. Rogers, quarterback in the Steelers, it's going to be interesting. We already have your Justin Fields, who will be returning to face, or will be facing his former team. So they have that part of it, and we're all kind of waiting to see what Aaron Rodgers does. But it looks like, you know, from the Steelers in action at quarterback, that they still expect him to be the quarterback. So that'll be a juicy matchup. Aaron Glenn's first game, and obviously, you know, we talked about what Rodgers has said about Aaron Glenn, you know, on McAfee show. It's going to be heated up this summer. Then again, if Rodgers is in Pittsburgh.
Real quick, before I get to Frankie, Kaz, are you surprised that Aaron Rodgers has not signed with the Steelers yet?
Yeah, I am. I thought it would happen by now. I stopped trying to figure out what Aaron Rodgers is thinking, doing. Like, he's a hard guy to predict. Like, people try it all the time. You don't know. So I don't know what's going on with him. Why he hasn't signed yet with the Steelers or anybody else, but you know, I would think we'd find out soon. I mean, although right now it doesn't feel like there's anything pending. The start of OT, like phase 3 where you're on the field, maybe, of OTAs, but yeah, that's not that big of a deal. Like, it could be July for all we know now. It could be, you know, training camp feels like the next big date on the calendar.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I'm sure Jets fans, including myself and Frankie, do not miss the whole Rodgers debacle and the off the field stuff and waiting if he's going to play or not. I'm glad it's not part of the Jets right now. And of course, it's going to be week 1, probably versus Aaron Rodgers, who's going to try and get revenge against Aaron Glenn, which will have plenty of juicy details for you guys in the media and for us fans to react to about how the 15-minute meeting went, and pretty much just see you later. And what can we do to help you with the release of the info? So it's certainly going to be I'm surprised it's not a primetime game, to be honest with you, Kaz. And I know there's only
they can't do it primetime, Ryan, if they don't know Aaron Rodgers is going to be there, right? Like, if this ends up being Will Howard versus Justin Fields or Mason Rudolph versus Justin Fields, there's no way that the NFL wants that in primetime in week one especially. So I think they kind of had to just hedge their bets and make it a week 1 matchup and then not make it primetime.
Frankie, what'd you make of the Jets' week 1 opponent here with the Steelers?
Well, I think it's official now that Aaron Rodgers will probably sign with the Steelers. I think he wants to return to MetLife Stadium. He wants to be there week 1 and kind of make up for, you know, week 1 from a few years ago. He might run out of the tunnel, I think, with the American flag again. I have a weird suspicion. You know what? I think it's a good game for the Jets to start off with as like a barometer, as almost like a test for Aaron Glenn. I don't think the Steelers are all that talented necessarily where it's a game you can't win, but I think they're coached well enough, obviously, with Tomlin there, and he seems to never have a losing season, where you can kind of see where the Jets are at. It'll be a tough game. They know Justin Fields, obviously. He was just there. So they're defensively going to be suited, I think, to throw some things at Fields based on what they saw in Pittsburgh with Fields last year. So I think that's a really good test. I'm a little worried that it's week one because they may not be ready, obviously. But I like that you kind of start off the season with a tough game, but a winnable game. It's not like we're playing Buffalo and Buffalo, which wouldn't seem like,
Right.
a winnable game. So this is a winnable game, but it's a good test, I think, to start the year off with.
And they could be in flux too. The Steelers, Frankie, like we don't know their quarterback. If Rodgers does, like, let's say Rodgers signs July 20th or something like that right before camp, they're not going to be ready to hit the ground running in week one. So it's like you said, this is a much better matchup than playing the Bills, even at home. I'd say in week one, like a team that's established, that's not going to be breaking in a quarterback, that's not making a lot of changes. I think that I did my ideal schedule that for my newsletter last week, and I had the Browns, week one, like Browns, Panthers, Saints. Those would have been some nice week one opponents for the Jets, but the Steelers, that's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad, guys. The Steelers, like you guys said, we don't know we think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, that's not official yet. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a new offense for him. Arthur Smith's the OC over there. They're trading away weapons in George Pickens. So who knows besides DK Metcalf, who he's throwing the ball to. It's going to be, I think it could be an interesting week one matchup for the Jets at home, 1:00. It's refreshing to finally not be prime time on week one, guys, and not have to wait all day for that game. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that one's going to play out week one. It's going to be all the hype surrounding there if it's Rodgers versus Fields playing their former teams. But then, guys, let's get into the rest of the schedule here. We have week 2 against the Bills at home. That's a 1:00 game on a Sunday. Then they go back-to-back. Kaz, you broke this earlier. They're going to be in Florida for back-to-back weeks in week 3 and 4 at Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 1:00 game. And then a long week, they got a Monday Night Football game against the Dolphins in week 4 before coming back home to play the Cowboys, then to London to play the Broncos. Then they're back home playing the Panthers, and then they're at the Bengals before the bye week. So let's break down this part of the schedule. Kaz, what stands out to you about this part of the schedule for the first half?
A lot of 1:00 games, right? Which I like. That's nice. And then, the teams that go to London or I'm going to guess all the other European cities, they can request their bye right after the trip if they want. And the Jets clearly didn't here. So they're not that worried about the travel. So the bye then falls week 9, which is kind of, there's no true halfway point when you play 17 games, but that's as close as you can get. So I think that's good. I don't see a stretch here where I'm like, oh my God, this is like a killer. Like, right? Like the Bills are the Bills, but the Jets usually play pretty well against them at home. The Buccaneers they're always good, pretty good. But again, not this isn't a stretch where I'm like, oh my God, the Jets have no chance here. I think there's some winnable games here for them. And the Panthers, they should be. Bengals game's tough. That's a tough one. Cowboys, we'll see what the Cowboys are. Who knows? But, I don't see it as a crazy stretch here. There's no stretches in the schedule, Ryan, where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really a brutal stretch for the Jets.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And Frankie, I'll say this to Kaz's point. They're not traveling that much besides the London game. I mean, Florida is a quick trip from New York. It's what, a 3.5 hour flight. So if you're back to back in Florida and you're coming back to New York, you're home against the Cowboys, then you have obviously the hassle of going to London, playing a very tough opponent in the Denver Broncos, who were a playoff team last year. But then you come home and play the Panthers, which is not a tough game at all. And then you're going to Cincinnati, again, a very short, like 1.5 hour flight or an hour flight. And then you're in the bye week. It's not a brutal schedule in the beginning in terms of travel or being on the road a bunch. It's a pretty favorable schedule. I would agree with Kaz in the beginning there, Frankie. Yeah,
no, I agree for the most part. I think the toughest stretch is the first 4 games of the season. I think are going to be the toughest part of the schedule. I think, we spoke about Pittsburgh. They're always tough. Buffalo's obviously the best team in our division, one of the best teams in the AFC. I think at Bucks is At home, you'd rather play them because they're going to put up a lot of points. You know, Baker down there, they're going to want to score a lot. So that'll be a tough game for us, I think, in terms of trying to keep up the pace and put points on the board to keep up with Tampa. And then I think that kind of culminates with the Monday night game against Miami. I think that'll be the game where we really know what this team is or who this team is. And I think that's the toughest part of the schedule for me. I mean, the rest of the games are all pretty, they're winnable game. You could beat Dallas, obviously, with Schottenheimer there. They're not a team you're really scared of. The Denver game will be interesting with the travel and Sean Payton. Coaches like that seem to do well when they're kind of on a neutral playing field, call it, even though it's technically a home game for us. They seem to kind of get their guys ready. We'll see how Aaron Glenn does in that one. But you can beat Carolina, and I think Cincinnati is a winnable game too. I mean, but the toughest part of the schedule is the first 3 to 4 games, I think, and then things open up. I'm not saying every game we're gonna win necessarily. Obviously, that I just brought up that we could win, but we're not playing the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. You're not playing the Eagles on the road. So like these are games that are winnable, but we could also lose.
Out of those first 8 games, right, up to the Bengals, what games would the Jets be favored in?
I was about to say that. I think the only game I could see them being favored in is Carolina.
You don't think they'd be favored against the Steelers at home?
No.
What if Rodgers isn't the quarterback?
Yes.
I think it might be you might have a
even Mason Rudolph's their quarterback. You think the Jets wouldn't be favored at home?
They have to.
Kaz, they just ranked us 30th in power rankings. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but there's a difference between Vegas and ESPN.
True.
Right? Like Vegas, these guys are pretty good at, this kind of stuff. I think they could be favored to the Steelers.
You think so? So if Rodgers, they'll be favored by 1.5?
Yeah, it's close. And then the Panthers, I think they'd be favored there, obviously, depending on what happens. But yeah, everything else, I think they're an underdog in the game.
Has it come out yet? I'm going to look it up. I can
probably not because the schedule's not official yet, Frankie. I doubt they're going to put anything out until the schedule's officially released. Yeah. Just something on the London guy, because I've done 3 London trips now. 15 against the Dolphins, 21 against the Falcons, and then last year with the Vikings. The travel's overrated by us. Like, it's not that bad. It's actually better than West Coast travel because the game is played at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. So they're home like at a reasonable time Sunday night. Where if you play, like last year, they opened in San Francisco, right? And they played at 8 o'clock Eastern time. There was Monday Night Football.
Yes.
So, you're not getting home till 3 a.m., 4 a.m., whatever, 5 a.m., like from the West Coast. So those games are worse to me than the London games. I think that's why you see teams not taking the bye anymore. And the teams pretty much have it down pat now too, of like when they travel, they usually travel Thursday, they practice Friday, they do light stuff Saturday, play the game Sunday, and then they're home. Like it's really, they've got it down to a science, I think now. I'm not sure about the other international games, but London, I don't think the travel is as big a deal as we used to think it was.
They say the travel's worse for Denver because they're coming from the West Coast.
Yeah.
Obviously that adds an extra, 3-ish hours on that trip. So, but yeah, I've heard the same thing.
Flying west to east is much worse. I can tell you too, for somebody that has to write the next day. Never mind playing, but it wipes you out.
So, guys, after the Week 8 bye, the Jets are home against the Cleveland Browns, who right now it's Joe Flacco as the starting quarterback. Could be Shedeur Sanders at this point, maybe, or maybe, the Oregon quarterback. Who knows at that point for the Cleveland Browns? Then they're at the New England Patriots facing Mike Vrabel, the man who turned them down and went there to be the head coach for the Patriots. Then they're at Baltimore. Again, not a tough road trip at all. Home against the Falcons, home against the Dolphins. All of these are 1 o'clock games besides the Patriots game, which is a Thursday night game, I should mention. Then they're at Jacksonville, so they're going to Florida again. Then they're at New Orleans. Again, not a tough travel, 1 o'clock. And then they're home against the Patriots, and then they're at Buffalo to finish up the season. Guys, this is a lot of 1 o'clock games, only 2 primetime games in the entire season. This second half of the stretch, the best opponents clearly are the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. But the rest, I could argue with all of you. I think they could be favored and win all of these games besides those 2.
Yeah, they could be favored. I'm just looking at it. This is so late in the season. Got to see how it goes. But yeah, and I think it's interesting. They've got the back-to-back road games early in the season, and then Patriots Ravens, but they have extra days built in there. With the Monday Night Football early in the season, and Thursday Night Football late, and then the Jaguars Saints is our 2 Sundays. But yeah, it's a pretty easy stretch here at the end of the season outside of those few games. One notable thing, that Bills game, that's the last regular season game in their stadium.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the new stadium opens in 26. So presumably, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but the Bills could win the division maybe and have home playoff games. I don't think, but if they're planning a big celebration, it's going to be that day. You can't do it during the playoffs. You can't assume you're going to have a playoff game. So expect Bruce Smith and Thurman Thomas and Jim Kelly and all those guys to be on the field before the game. Expect lots of tables to be broken and expect the crowd to be well hydrated. So, you might say, week 18, the Bills might have it wrapped up, nothing, but that could be a real crazy atmosphere in Buffalo that day.
Yeah, that's interesting, Kaz. That's a good note right there. Again, with this, I would say if I had to look at 2 back-to-backs, that you gotta play well in both of these games to be competitive. It's at New England on Thursday Night Football. They're gonna want to pounce on us. The rivalry we have, that we can't stand each other. They'll try to run the score up as they always try to do against us. And then at Baltimore, I think that is obviously tough, and they're both on the road. So again, but you have the bye week before, 2 weeks before that. So it should get them ready for some really tough opponents on the road there. But Ryan, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of winnable games here. I'm curious, and I don't do the whole like win loss, whatever, because you can beat any team. I know you're probably going to ask us to do that, but you can. I'll do it. I don't mind doing it. Actually, I'll do it. I'll be a good soldier here. But what I think with this team, that's going to be the most interesting part of this is, are they going to be able to beat teams that they should beat? Are they going to be able to beat the Browns? Are they going to be able to beat the Panthers, the Falcons, let's say? I don't know. We'll know earlier, I think, in the schedule as to what kind of team this is, and if they are able to establish a running game and they're able to control the clock and the defense plays well, you can say that we can win those games. We just have no idea. We have no idea what kind of offense Tanner Engstrand's going to run. Nobody really knows. So, but with that, Cleveland opening up after the bye, that's a game. If you want to be taken seriously, you have to win that game. I mean, no questions asked. They're projected to be at the bottom of the league with us going into the season. So if you want to be a team and Aaron Glenn wants to be taken seriously in New York and amongst his players, that game you got to win, because you got 2 games after I just spoke about at New England and at Baltimore that aren't so favorable. And I'm sure the point spreads will tell us about that when the time comes.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Frankie, some of these teams are going to be much better than we expect, and some of them will be much worse. There's going to be a quarterback that's going to get injured, and something's going to happen. Like I do think for the newspaper schedule analysis where you do like 3 toughest games, 3 easiest games, and I just looked back at last year just to see the format again, and I had the easiest game was the Cardinals, right? It's got curb stomped in that game.
I guaranteed victory on.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember who else I had. I think they lost every game I had as the easiest games or close to it. So it's fun to sit here and do the wins and losses in May, but it's tough. Like we know the Ravens game is going to be tough, right? Unless something crazy happens, but you never know. You don't know. Like the Falcons could be better than we think. The Jaguars could be better. Like you just don't know. The Patriots one interests me, especially that Thursday night game, that first game, because I feel like you guys, the Jets fans, are happy with Aaron Glenn. You like that hire. You like what you've seen. But man, like Vrabel has a little something. When you see Vrabel, you're like, that he's pretty good. And I'm curious to see what he does in New England, how they are, and whether there is any what could have been. If you're thinking about Vrabel, if he does well in New England in his first year, and that's obviously you're going to see him twice a year. that's the first time you're going to see him as the Patriots coach. We'll see what Drake May does under him. So I'm curious to see if the Patriots games have been pretty. I don't know. They've been duds the last few years. It hasn't felt the same in a long time. Jets Patriots. We'll see if this spices it up a little bit.
And Aaron Glenn declined. Didn't he decline an interview?
He did. I don't think that's like the Patriots are going to be livid about that or anything. He declined it because he knew Vrabel was getting the job. Right? Like, I mean, at that point, everyone knew Vrabel was getting the job.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to guess Aaron Glenn thought they were interviewing him for other reasons other than being really interested in hiring him.
Let's get into that. No, I'm just kidding, Kaz. No, I agree with you, man. Like, I told you from the start when the Jets were starting their coaching search, I said Mike Vrabel's the guy. He's the guy I wanted. He's the guy I always wanted. But I'm fully supporting Aaron Glenn. Like you have said and we have talked about, they're shutting a lot of this down when it comes to the outside noise for the Jets. It's tight-lipped around there. Like Frankie also said here, Kaz, we just don't know how this team is going to look in the beginning of the season. Like we could try and dissect preseason games, but preseason games mean absolutely nothing now in football. And it's really going to be, I'm interested to see how they come out that first week against the Steelers. Are they, like Frankie said, are they going to be able to run the ball? What's Tanner Angstrad's offense going to look like? Because that's the key to me. Defense is always ahead of the offense early on. I think Aaron Glenn will try and get this defense grooving early on, but what's Justin Fields and this offense going to do early is going to determine a lot for this season. And that Patriots game definitely going to be fun to watch because Mike Vrabel's damn good coach. Damn good coach.
Is it just me, or do we always play New England twice after our bye week? Or am I just thinking?
No, they played them last year in week 3, remember?
Yeah, I actually do. That was
one good game they played.
yeah. I thought maybe the year before we played them then we played them week 18 when Brees had like 37 carries, and we played them later too. But whatever. Yeah, I just always feel that was a little bit odd to me. I was hoping we would play them a little bit earlier, before maybe Vrabel got
last year. I think they played them twice before the bye because the second game was in October when
you're
Jacoby
actually
Brissett led them down the field. Yeah.
I'm mistaken.
Kaz, I know this is a lot of looking in the crystal ball here, but in your humble opinion, do you believe that Justin Fields starts all of these football games here this season?
Oof, that's a hard one, Ron. I'm going to go no just because I'm playing the odds, like nothing about Justin Fields, like just how many quarterbacks start 17 games at this point. Like I feel like that's been a story the last few years is how many backup quarterbacks are playing. So I'll say no just because, again, nothing against him, but I'm just going to play the odds that it doesn't happen. And Rodgers last year started all the games. That was the first time for the Jets since 2015 when Fitz started every game. So,
wow.
It doesn't. And I mean, I don't follow every team as closely, so I don't know. But I'm going to guess most teams don't have, a lot of guys that play 17 games a year.
I'll agree with Kaz on that.
Yeah, it's just tough to, like you said, to get a guy healthy through the entire year. Yeah. I mean, Fields is a tough dude, and I know he's taking a licking behind the Steelers and Bears offensive lines. We're hoping that the potential of this Jets offensive line can hold him up and keep him upright. But he is a quarterback that tends to take off and run a lot, and he's prone to taking shots, and he could get banged up. And yeah, like you said, the odds are he could probably not be starting all 17 of these games.
Ryan, I have a question for you guys, though. Yeah. If Justin Fields doesn't play well, where can they go if they wanted to, let's say, where are they going to go to Tyrod Taylor? We didn't draft a quarterback, which you guys know I was pounding the table for. I mean, where are they going to go? They're going to basically have to start him every single game, assuming health, right? So I don't know. I mean, is there another scenario here where you could see them, if he doesn't play well, them saying I don't know. I mean,
what if Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign anywhere? They could sign him.
Somebody mentioned to do that. I was in a Twitter space the other day. Somebody really said, we should think about signing Rodgers.
That's happening. Yeah, it's a good point. There's really nowhere to go. Like, there's just nowhere. It's hard for me to envision them saying, "Oh yeah, let's go to Tyrod." But it would have been hard for me to envision them saying, let's go to Tim Boyle 2 years ago. So I guess stuff happens. But yeah, it doesn't seem like there is a logical path there if Fields doesn't play well. I think they're just going to have to wear it.
And that's what's interesting, Kaz, too, is that we had you on last time, right? We talked about Jordan Travis, and then sure as hell, after we posted our
Yeah.
episode, he and the Jets announced that he's going to retire from football, and they don't draft a quarterback. It's they're putting themselves in quite the situation and scenario here if they, because Tyrod Taylor is not a bill signing bill like a great bill of health either. I mean, he's had injury history as well.
Yeah, that's how we know who Tommy Cutlets is.
It's true.
Right? It's because Tyrod got hurt. Yeah. So, yeah, no, you're right. I mean, look, I've spoken to coaches and GMs through the years who feel like if you lose your starting quarterback, you're screwed anyway. And the Jets might be looking at this season as like that. Like they don't have a Super Bowl roster here, right? So if they lose the quarterback, okay, then they lose more games and they get a better draft pick. I don't know, if that's what they're thinking, right? Like I don't know if you guys know the famous Tom Moore, Peyton Manning story. Did you ever hear that one? I think it was Jaworski told the story. Ron Jaworski was there for like a Friday practice with the Colts, and Peyton took every rep. And Jaworski said to Tom Moore, like, what? Why wouldn't you let the backup quarterback take at least a few reps? And Tom Moore said, if Peyton gets hurt, we're effed. We don't practice effed. So, like, that's the philosophy of some guys. They're just, the starting quarterback is the guy. So, but yeah, I don't see any really good alternative here if he does get hurt.
Would you be shocked if they bring in another quarterback here on this roster?
Anyone of note? Yeah. Like, do you think they're going to bring in some undrafted guy? Like, no. I mean, I could see like they might decide they don't like Brady Cook and pick somebody else, or they've seen enough Adrian Martinez and go somewhere else. Like, but nobody like that's going to move the needle. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, it's definitely a game of they're gambling here a little bit with the health, and we'll see how it plays out. Fellas, I'm not going to have you play the win-loss game, but I am going to ask you, based on what the schedule and we know what the opponents are, and you guys know what the travel isn't that bad, give me a win-loss prediction at least for what this Jets team could potentially be based off what you're seeing and how the schedule is laid out now. I'll start with
Go ahead, Frankie. Go ahead, Frankie.
Frankie.
All right. I've been crunching some numbers here using ChatGPT, helping me out a little bit. They're going to win 7 games, 7-10. They're going to start pretty rough. I think they'll start 1-4, but I think they'll rattle off a few, win that Browns game, give them their 4th win, and then they'll manage to win another 3, Atlanta being 1, New Orleans, and that last New England game I think we will win. I kind of did play the win-loss thing, I guess. But
it's okay.
7-10. I'm calling a 7-10 season. I think the defense is going to be very good this year. So if there's one positive, I know I've been very negative lately. If there's one positive I have with this team, I think their defense is going to be very, very good. I like the players we drafted. You have Steve Wilkes there. Aaron Glenn obviously being a defensive guy. I think the D-line will play a little better. And now you have another year out of McDonald. So I think 7-10 is where I'm going.
I reserve the right to change my mind here. Let's put that out there. I'm way, way far away from making a prediction, but to me, I'm between 5 and 7 wins in that area right now. Like I think 7's the ceiling. I think 5's the floor right now.
Do you think 7's is there any world where you could see this team win 10 games? And is there a world you could see this team win 2 games? Or, let's play that.
No,
What's more likely, 10 wins or 2?
Nah, it's hard for me to see. I guess if Justin Fields plays way, way, way better than we've ever seen him play in the NFL, it could be 10. But I'm skeptical of that. I think I have a lot of questions about the offense. I have questions about the defense too. So I think, I don't see 2 wins either. Like, maybe you said 4, maybe that could happen. But to me, it's between 5 and 7. I think they're in that range right now. But the schedule is not horrible. Like we're just looking at the schedule. That part of it does give you some hope, but I need to see it. And I do think there's a lot of new coaches that are going to be feeling their way too. Aaron Glenn has to learn. It's tough. The first year as a head coach can be tough First year as an offense coordinator, gonna be tough for Engstrand. So, we'll see.
Yeah, I think both you guys are right in the same wheelhouse of where you see this Jets team. I'm going to be that guy. I think they're going to win 10 games this year.
Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Love it, Ryan.
I'm being highly optimistic. I'm
Go
buying too much.
12. Don't middle it. Go 12.
No. 10
Say it with
is
your chest. Go 12-5.
No chance of 12-5. 10-7, I think, is actually possible for this Jets team and doable. The schedule is not daunting at all. I'm not giving them wins against the tough teams. Like, I'm not giving them wins against the Bills or the
So
Bucs.
you think by that rationale, Justin Fields plays.
He plays, and this is where I'm going with
top,
this analysis.
Top what? Top 16, top 12?
Top 16. Top 16 is good. This is where I'm going with this analysis, and hear me out, fellas. This gives me some kind of vibes of like Rex Ryan in his first year with the Jets. They're gonna run the hell out of the football, and they're gonna play good defense.
That's the 2008 Jets are the best team that I've covered. The 2008 Jets were the best team.
That was the Brett Favre year, right?
Yeah, that roster was phenomenal, and Favre got hurt, so they like that team. Remember, they were 8-3, and it was like, oh, are they going to go to the Super Bowl? And then Favre got hurt, so like Rex took over a really, 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 really good roster. This roster is not, I don't think, in the same boat as that roster.
Understood, but there was also a lot of promise with last year's roster, and we thought highly of last year's roster. Now, the key departures are Rodgers, right, and Devontae Adams now. But I would say to you is that I don't think this is going to be a air raid offense, and we're not going to chuck the ball 50 times a game. They're going to run the hell out of the football. I think Breece Hall might have a monster year this year. This offensive line could be really legit, and if you're playing strong in the trenches and you're making it easier on Justin Fields, and I truly think they're going to support him more than any other time in his career, the schedule is not a killer in my opinion. And maybe I'm overlooking a lot of these opponents, but none of these guys are besides the Bills and the Ravens are really scaring me as a Jets fan. And you could win any of these games. So I'm buying the hype in Aaron Glenn. I got them as 10-7 right now. I'm not going to give him like the Kaz where I'm going to have.
Kaz can't believe it. He's an utter shock.
It's fine. Listen, man, Kaz is probably more right, and they'll probably end up with 5 wins. But I will say this, guys, their over under in wins is 5.5 this year. So I'm buying well over that.
I'll say this. Typically in the NFL, if you have a very good O-line and a very good defense, you could win 8 games, 9 games. I mean, it's pretty standard for the most part. I mean, you see teams do it usually where if their defense is very good, they have a good O-line. Philadelphia is a great example early in Hurts's career. They kind of had that formula a bit, but
I think
I don't know if we need to slow down. Yeah.
We need to slow down on the offensive line with the Jets.
Yeah, I was about to
say
they
have the potential to be a good offensive line.
Yeah.
They have the potential. But they have the potential to be a mediocre offensive line as well. All right, like the one guy's gonna be a rookie. You have no idea what to expect from a rookie. The other guy's in his second year at tackle, who played pretty well last year, but like it wasn't like he was all pro, and we're like, okay, that's it.
Well, he didn't play a full season.
He didn't. John Simpson had a nice year.
Yeah.
Tippmann's okay.
I think Tippmann will probably be replaced by Myers midway through the season. I don't think they like Joe Tippmann. I think that's the reason why they signed Myers.
AVT's had moments, but he's then he's had health issues. So I think we're acting like this is offensive line is like a no brainer, going to be like great. Maybe they will be, but I just like Philadelphia or Detroit, they're not there yet. They're not compared to those offensive lines.
I'll say this. We have no idea with Olu and with Membu what they're going to look like against an NFL rush week in and week out. Are they going to be able to keep up? We don't know until we see it. I mean, we can speculate. I think Olu's very good at left tackle, but he's still young. Membu, I don't know yet how he's going to deal with those outside edge rushers. If they're able to keep it upright and keep Fields upright, they can score some points, and I think the defense will do enough to hold opponents to under a certain mark. But again, I agree to a degree with Kaz. People saying that this O-line's as good as, you know, the Brickashaw years and stuff. It's too early to say.
I never said that, fellas.
I
said it
know,
has
but
a
people
chance
are
to
saying
be a
it
very
online.
good
Like, oh,
offensive
this is
line
good as
potential.
a Mangle Brick thing. It's like not.
What I said though is that this team reminds me of going into a year, first year with the coach, and it's a terrible comparison. Kaz is already saying that a little bit by me. It's fine, but I'm buying into the Aaron Glenn hype. I'm buying into the fact that they're keeping all the outside noise quiet and they're just trying to focus on football. And I think they believe that with good coaching, this team has a lot more potential in it, and they're trying to tap into it. And I want to see it. It's going to be tough sledding, like you said, Frankie, in the beginning, but by no means is this schedule going to be daunting. Is it going to be brutal on them? No, I think they have a lot of Sunday 1:00 games, and they're going to be ready to rock and roll every single week and get into a rhythm. So, and I can see them rattling off a lot of wins down the stretch in this season. I really can.
Ryan drinking the Kool-Aid, man.
I'm drinking
Holy
it.
smokes!
I might have watched the Aaron Glenn. I might have watched the Jets documentary, the 3-parter they released last night on your YouTube channel, and I'm buying the hype now. That's what it is.
You know what? I like it. We need some more positivity in Jets land. I actually like that you're doing this.
There's nothing else going on. There's no noise. There's no amazing free agent news or Aaron Rodgers stuff to talk about, Pat McAfee. So I got to be positive about the Jets and say, you know what? Maybe we'll win some friggin' football games. And maybe I'm a little too excited about it, but I actually can't wait to see what, like you guys are talking about. I can't wait to see what this offensive line does. I can't wait to see what Breece Hall is in this offense, what Justin Fields is going to do with Garrett Wilson. Are they going to have another huge connection here? There's so many questions we are not going to have any answers for until we actually see football played. But I think the hype is there. I think we can buy into the fact that there is potential for this team to take a much improved step, and you could potentially rattle off some wins because you never know. There's a lot of teams here that we could be looking at that aren't as good as we think.
Are you the producer of this show, Ryan? Who's the producer of this show?
I am, unfortunately.
You are the producer. Can you clip these last 5 minutes and just save it so we can revisit and
absolutely
pick a month, November, December, January? Can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And then that actually is a great question, Kaz, because I do want to ask you this. In November, are we playing meaningless by we meaning as Jets team? Are they playing meaningless football by Thanksgiving?
Probably. Probably. Yeah.
Oz is going to send you that 5-minute clip once the 8th loss kicks in, Rye. You better get ready.
Look, here's the thing. Like, you can say, oh, it's negative. This franchise has not given you any reason to give them the benefit of the doubt, right?
That's
in a long time. And I get it. Maybe Aaron Glenn, you want to say, okay, Aaron Glenn gets the benefit of the doubt. Okay, but like, just things just usually don't go right here. And so until I see it go right, it's hard for me to go, oh yeah, like I do think Justin Fields is going to be better than I've ever seen him. I do think the offensive line is going to be what they could be. Like the projections are kind of like, I'm just hesitant about that kind of stuff.
I want to see, and this will be big, I think, for us as fans and media, Kaz, for us to understand what Tanner Engstrand wants to do with these receivers, Malachi Corley, for example, what he wants to do with, does he want to use Isaiah Davis? Is he going to use Braylon Allen? There is a path looking at this offense that I think they can be successful. I spoke about the read option. I say it every show. There are things this offense can do that if Tanner Engstrand taps in, they can score points. Garrett Wilson's Garrett Wilson. Let's not kid ourselves. He's a great wide receiver. He's one of the best in football. Is he top 10? I don't know, but he's top 15.
Yeah.
Fields can run. Breece in space. I mean, the offensive line. There's an avenue. There's pathways here for this offense to score points. 100%. I just don't know what Tanner Engstrand is, and I'm very curious. And we might not get everything out of training camp in terms of understanding who this guy is, because, in training camp, people say, oh, I went to training camp. I saw Malik. Huh? Yeah.
You won't. Because I can remember training camp last year. We thought they were going to run the ball like crazy.
Yeah. Malachi Corley was getting a lot of looks too, wasn't he?
They were running the ball great. And then, it didn't happen during the season. So you're not going to know for a few weeks exactly what Tanner Engstrand is. And I agree. There's a path there. But you're projecting a lot of things to go right,
for sure.
And that's
a lot went wrong last year. That's kind of why I'm buying the hype.
And in 2023 and at the end of 2022, and 2021, and in 2020, the beginning of 2019. Should I keep going?
Well,
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's just it's hard to.
We'll be here for a long time, Kaz. This will be 2
disastrous
hours.
head coaches. Disaster
Like, yeah,
coaching,
like,
man.
hey, if you're gonna say, hey, Aaron Glenn is gonna flip this all around, okay, all right, but like
That's what I'm buying into.
That's it. Yeah, and I think that's the Jets' plan right now. I think that's their path. Is that they're hoping that better coaching changes this around. But the culture thing takes a while, right? Like look at Detroit. If you want to look at Detroit, and as the example, like Dan Campbell, 3-13 the first year, right? And then they struggled the first half of the second year, and then they turned it around, and they were really good this end of the second half. Then the third year, a lot better. So it's like it could take a little time to flip this around.
Yeah, I mean there was more talent here on this Jets roster than I would say in that Lions first year when Dan Campbell, they stripped that roster pretty bare and they were starting over from scratch. I think we'll see. I mean that's all it's going to be. It's going to be we'll see, but I'm buying the hype. Obviously, I understand where you guys are more tempered and like let's just see what happens in the
Who's
first.
the punter, Ryan? Who's going to punt?
What is up with that? Why'd they release Thomas?
Maybe they're
Morstead?
planning on not punting. Whoa!
Oh, go for the fourth
punt
down.
Did you see the new punter we signed?
Yeah,
how he throws?
Quarterback.
He's
maybe
got
he
a
can
good
play
arm,
a field
man. Tom
struggles.
Kufa, baby. He might come in. He might be our backup.
Why you guys
I'll say
depress
this about
me on
Eric.
This
I'll
is the
say
Jet
this
schedule release show, and you guys are depressing me like with this stuff right now.
No, I'll say this about Aaron Glenn. Right, ready? I'll give you a little something. Aaron Glenn is copying what Dan Campbell did in Detroit, and I think he's going to put a lot of he's going to allow his coordinators to do whatever they really want to do with the defense and with the offense. So I don't think he's going to step on too many toes. With that being said, you got to make sure that the coordinators do a really good job. And I think Wilkes will with the defense. I just don't know with Tanner and the offense. But he'll let them do their jobs, and he'll give them the keys on both sides of the ball. And that's what Dan Campbell did in Detroit. So just something interesting that he even said recently, and I learned a lot from Dan. I want to institute things that I learned there. So we'll see.
Kaz, what was the point of dropping Morstead?
I'm not 100% sure, Ryan, but I do know like someone said to me, not with the Jets. This was somebody from another team I was asking, and they said when you're trying to establish culture, your number one enemy is veteran players, right? And if you remember, do you remember Mangini when he came in and all the players he got rid of, like the Kevin Mawais, and he warred with Pete Kendall, and like because sometimes older players can push back on some of the stuff you're trying to do. And I mean, Thomas Morstead's a punter, but Morstead he was a player rep for the Union, so he had some influence in the locker room. That's really the only thing I can think of. I can't see the football reason for it, so I'm just wondering if they felt like they wanted to clear out another veteran because they're what they're trying to establish here.
He's pretty outspoken too, Morstead.
Yeah, I wonder if it was the Rodgers stuff. I mean, was there anything with the Rodgers stuff? I know Morstead and him were like really close, but I doubt it's that, right? From the carryover.
I doubt it's that. Yeah, I think it's probably more just he's making a little bit of money. He's a veteran. He had his year last year wasn't quite as good as the year before, so maybe they were just looking to overall get younger in the locker room as he's trying to establish a culture. I think Zerline will be gone at some point too, right? And there's not many players over 30 left after that.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting decision we saw yesterday. Guys, that's a show. That's the Jet schedule. I'm sure fans are going to be playing the win-loss already. I'm obviously more on the optimistic side. You guys are more in the middle. But I'm sure there's plenty more times we could talk about the New York Jets coming up here. OTA start next week, right, Kaz?
Yes. Yep. The media is allowed to watch Wednesday next week.
Wow,
Wednesday
here already. Holy smokes.
Yep. So we'll get to see them on the field and get to talk to some people. We'll see who we get to talk to.
Kaz, Frankie, you guys are the man. And both of you, I appreciate you hopping on, joining us live here for Gangs All Here, breaking down the Jets 2025 schedule.
Save that 10-win prediction, Ryan. Save it. Clip it.
Sorry to be a buzzkill, Ryan, but me and Kaz, we have to tell you about reality sometimes. It's okay.
All right, we'll see who's right when the season rolls around, guys. Appreciate you, fellas.